On a sweltering summer day, a legendary star just wanted to rest and sip a glass of lemonade, but what happened next will leave you speechless. The hard-earned dream of a young girl was suddenly under threat, and the tension was on the verge of erupting. Would justice prevail, or would the strong take advantage of the weak? Stay until the very end to witness an unforgettable moment. This story burns brighter than the summer sun beating down on the pavement. As Sylvester Stallone strolled around the corner of Edgewood Avenue and Boulevard in Atlanta, something caught his attention, a small lemonade stand with a hand-drawn sign that read, "Fresh lemonade, $1, help me get to college." The sign was written in purple marker, the kind that bleeds through paper and fades quickly in the sun. But her handwriting was neat and full of hope. Behind the table stood a young black girl, no more than 11 or 12 years old, her face marked with determination. She swatted away flies, wiped sweat from her brow, and poured each cup carefully. Her feet burned against the concrete, but her focus never wavered. She wasn't just selling lemonade. She was building something. Suddenly, a deep and unmistakable voice rumbled like distant thunder. "2 lemonades, one for me, one for you. Looks like you could use a break." Maya stared, her breath catching in her throat. She recognized that face instantly, though for a moment her brain refused to believe it. Sylvester Stallone, the man whose movies she had watched more times than she could count, was standing in front of her table. Not on a screen, not in a magazine, but right there in the heat of Atlanta, asking for a glass of lemonade. You're Rocky," she whispered. He grinned, that crooked, knowing smile that seemed carved from stone. "Among other things," he said. "But today, I'm just a thirsty guy." She scrambled to pour 2 cups, her hands slightly trembling. As she handed him his, he took a sip and gave an approving nod. "That's solid lemonade. Cold, too. You've got a good thing going here." Maya tried to speak, but all that came out was a shy, breathless, "Thank you." He looked at her for a moment. "You're really saving up for college?" She nodded. "Spelman," she said proudly. "Good school," he replied, wiping sweat from his forehead with the sleeve of his shirt. Sylvester raised an eyebrow. "That's a pretty big goal for someone your age." She nodded again. "Yeah, my mom works 2 jobs just to keep us going, and I don't want her to struggle forever. If I start saving now, by the time I finish high school, I'll have something solid. I don't want to rely on loans or hope for some miracle. I want to earn it myself." "How much have you saved so far?" he asked. She looked down at the small jar next to her table. "Today, just $16.50. He smiled again, this time more thoughtfully. 16 down, about 100,000 to go." Maya gave a quiet laugh, half hopeful, half tired. "Something like that." Then he did something unexpected. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small envelope, cleanly folded, just a little worn at the corners. He placed it gently on the table. Maya blinked. "What's this?" "Open it," he said. She slowly lifted the flap. Inside were crisp, thick bills, real and untouched. Her eyes widened. "I can't take this," she said, panicked. "It's too much." "You can," he said softly but firmly. "And you should, because someone once did the same for me. No strings, just belief." Her throat tightened. "But why me?" "Because you showed up. You worked for it. You didn't ask. That means something." She clutched the envelope to her chest, almost unable to speak. "Thank you." "Just promise me one thing," he said, lowering his voice. "When it's your turn, when you've made it, find someone else. Help them like this." She nodded slowly, eyes glistening with tears. "I will. I promise." He gently squeezed her shoulder, gave her a single nod, then turned and walked away. He didn't look for applause or attention. He just moved down the sidewalk, his boots steady on the hot concrete, disappearing around the curve of the street like he had never been there. Maya stood still, the envelope still in her hands, barely able to breathe. The world around her hadn't changed, but something deep inside her had. That's when she heard the growl of an engine, the kind that made the ground rumble before you could see what made it. A motorcycle. The bike rolled up slowly, the rider parking just a few feet from where she stood. The man who climbed off looked nothing like Stallone. He was greasy, mean-looking, with a sun-leathered face and tattoos crawling up his arms like ivy. He wore mirrored sunglasses and had a crooked smile that sent chills across her skin. He strolled up to the table and poured himself a cup without asking. He drank it in one gulp, crushed the cup in his hand, and tossed it to the ground. $1, Maya said, trying to keep her voice calm. He didn't even blink. "That lemonade was garbage," he sneered. "You should be paying me." He turned to walk away, then paused. His eyes flicked toward her hand, the envelope. "What's that?" he asked, his voice low. "Nothing," she said quickly, clutching it tighter. He took a step closer. "Looks like more than nothing." Her heart began to race. She could barely breathe. "It's mine," she said. "I earned it." He laughed, cold and sharp. "You? A kid on the sidewalk? Number that money's not yours." He reached toward her. "Hand it over." Maya stepped back. "No." His expression hardened. "You don't want to say that to me, girl." She shook her head. "It's mine." He stepped forward again, hand outstretched. And then a voice from behind, calm and clear, sliced through the rising fear. "She said no." Maya turned. Sylvester Stallone had come back. Arms folded, eyes locked forward, standing just behind the man with a silence that thundered through the street. The man in the leather vest froze. His hand, just inches from Maya's envelope, hung in the air like a hook without bait. Slowly he turned his head, and when he saw who had spoken, the smug confidence in his face twisted into disbelief, then frustration. "You again?" he said, his voice tight. Sylvester Stallone stood with quiet command, his arms folded across his chest, his brow furrowed, not in anger but in warning. The kind of look a man gave when he had seen too much and wasn't in the mood for any more. "She said no," Stallone repeated, his voice steady as a river, low and gravelly. "And I don't like people who ignore that word." The biker scoffed, masking the slight hitch in his breath. "What are you going to do, old man? Give me a lecture?" "No," Stallone said, "but I will give you a chance to walk away. One chance." There was a pause, a quiet stretch of air thick with tension. The street, so loud just minutes before, seemed to hold its breath. The only sound was the rattle of a lawn sprinkler across the road and the quiet buzz of a cicada somewhere high in a tree. The biker laughed once, sharp and dismissive. "You think you scare me?" He took a step forward, puffing up his chest, clearly trying to call Stallone's bluff. But Stallone didn't blink. He didn't shift. He just looked at the man like he'd seen 100 of him before and wasn't impressed by any of them. "I'm not here to scare you," Stallone said, "but I won't let you take what's not yours." Something about the way he said it made the biker hesitate. His hand dropped away from Maya's money, but his pride wouldn't let him walk. He stepped closer to Stallone, chest puffed, fists half clenched. Last chance, Stallone said again, this time barely above a whisper. The biker lunged. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't smart. But it was fast. He swung a wild punch, one that might have connected with someone slower, someone not used to ducking under pressure. But Stallone had spent decades in the gym, in the ring, and in the fight both on screen and off. He stepped sideways with ease, grabbed the man's arm mid-swing, twisted, and brought him down in a single fluid motion. The man hit the pavement hard, groaning, the breath knocked out of him. Stallone didn't follow up. He stood over him calmly, his foot just inches from the man's ribs. "That was your shot," he said, as if disappointed. "You used it poorly." The man cursed under his breath, but he didn't try to rise. He knew. Maya stood frozen, her eyes wide. She had never seen anyone fight like that. Not in real life. Not for her. Stallone turned to her, his expression softening instantly. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, still gripping the envelope tightly. "I am now," she said, voice trembling. "He didn't hurt you." "Number just scared me. You handled yourself well." She looked down at the envelope, then at him. "I thought he was going to take it, and I just got it. I didn't know what to do." Stallone gave her a faint smile. "You did everything right. You stood your ground, and you asked for help the best way you could. You didn't give in." He looked down at the man still groaning on the pavement. "The world's full of people like that, but also full of people like you, brave enough to hold on when it matters." By now, a few windows had cracked open nearby. Curious eyes peeked from behind curtains. A man watering his lawn across the street stopped mid-spray, hose forgotten in his hand. Stallone knelt slightly, picked up the crushed lemonade cup from the ground, and tossed it into Maya's trash bin. "You want me to call someone?" she asked. He shook his head. "He'll leave. He's not going to do this again. Not here." Stallone gave the biker one last look. "Get on your bike. Don't come back." The man rose slowly, dusting off his jeans. His face was red, not from the heat, but from the humiliation. He didn't say a word. He just limped toward his motorcycle, started the engine with a roar, and sped off down the street like a dog with its tail between its legs. When he was gone, Maya let out a long breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Stallone reached into his jacket and pulled out a handkerchief. He handed it to her gently. "You're brave," he said, "and that means more than any money in the world." She nodded, her lips still trembling. "Thank you for coming back." "Didn't feel right to walk away just yet," he said. "Something told me to stick around." They stood together in silence for a moment. The sun had shifted slightly. The light wasn't as harsh now, more golden than white. A soft breeze lifted the corner of Maya's sign and carried the scent of lemons into the street. "You know," he added, "I didn't always have people who believed in me. When I was your age, I had a stutter. Got picked on a lot. Couldn't get parts in anything. Nobody thought I'd make it, except one guy. He helped me. Didn't ask for anything back. Just said, 'When you make it, pay it forward.' I guess today was my turn." Maya smiled. "And someday, it'll be mine." Stallone nodded. "That's the idea." The breeze blew a paper cup across the sidewalk. Maya picked it up and looked at her table. One of the pitchers had spilled slightly in the scuffle. A few of the cups had toppled. Her sign was crooked. It wasn't a disaster, but it looked a little tired. So did she. Stallone rolled up his sleeves. "Mind if I help clean up?" She laughed through her nerves. "I wouldn't say no to that." So they worked side by side. He stacked the cups, straightened the sign, and wiped the table with the back of his hand. She poured what was left from one pitcher into the other and salvaged as much as she could. Together, they made the little stand look whole again. When they finished, Stallone stepped back and gave a nod of approval. "Back in business," Maya smiled. "Thanks to you." "Thanks to you," he corrected. "I just gave a push. You built this." She hesitated, then reached under the table and pulled out a fresh cup. "On the house," she said. "Best lemonade in Atlanta." He took it with both hands and toasted the sky before sipping. "You're right. It is." They stood in that golden moment, two people from different worlds, sharing the same patch of sidewalk, the same light, the same silent understanding that something special had just happened. Not because of fame, or money, or danger, but because of kindness. Because sometimes, even on the hottest day of the summer, hope can walk up, buy a cup of a lemonade, and remind you that you're not alone. The rest of the afternoon passed more quietly. The sun softened into a late afternoon haze, casting long shadows across the pavement. Maya's table, now neatly reset and standing proudly, caught the attention of a few more passers-by, including a woman with 2 kids who each bought a cup and left behind a $5 bill. Maya smiled and thanked them with the kind of earnestness that only comes from someone who's had to earn everything. Stallone sat on the low brick ledge nearby, sipping his lemonade slowly, watching the way Maya interacted with everyone. Her voice was polite, confident now, even cheerful. He could see something had changed in her, not just because the danger had passed, but because she'd faced it, stood her ground, and come out stronger. He checked his watch and stood, brushing the dust off his jeans. "I should get going," he said, stepping over to her. "Got a plane to catch in the morning." Maya looked up at him, eyes wide with something between admiration and gratitude. "Thank you again. For everything. I'll never forget this." He smiled gently. "You won't need to. You'll live it again one day from the other side." She held out her hand. He took it and gave it a firm, fatherly shake. "Keep your eyes up, shoulders back. You've already got what it takes." And with that, he turned and walked down the sidewalk, his silhouette slowly shrinking against the orange skyline until it vanished at the corner. Maya stood still for a few moments, holding the final cup of lemonade she had poured one for herself, untouched. She lifted it to the air, as if in silent salute, then drank it slowly, letting the sweetness settle deep into her chest, like a memory she didn't want to let go of. But as the minutes passed, the light dimmed further, and the street fell back into its late-day quiet, something began to shift. A sound, distant at first, barely a tremble, then louder, rising from the street beyond the bend. The deep, unmistakable growl of a motorcycle engine. Her heart skipped. Maya's eyes snapped toward the noise. She knew it. The same low rumble from earlier. She stepped back instinctively, eyes scanning the edge of the street. It wasn't just one this time. 2 bikes, maybe 3. She couldn't see yet. Her hand clutched the envelope again, now hidden beneath the table. She glanced around, hoping, almost praying that maybe Stallone had forgotten something. Maybe he would come walking back around the corner. But there was no one, just her and the gathering sound of engines. The motorcycles rounded the corner fast, tires spitting tiny bursts of gravel, engines revving like thunder. 3 of them. The same man from before in the lead, his face tighter now, lips curled in a hard line, eyes dark behind his glasses. This time, he wasn't alone. 2 others just as rough flanked him, each wearing matching vests, patches sewn into the backs, boots crunching pavement as they dismounted and strode toward her. Maya's breath caught in her throat, but she didn't move. She didn't run. She remembered the voice that had told her she was brave. She remembered the words, "You did everything right." Still, fear pressed against her ribs like a vice. The lead biker stopped a few feet from the table. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at her. The two behind him folded their arms, silent, waiting. Then he spoke. "That was cute back there," he said, his voice colder than earlier. "Getting your little hero to come save the day." Maya didn't answer. Her jaw tightened. "Problem is," he continued, stepping closer, "he's not here now, is he?" She shook her head slowly. "Number, he's not. And you've still got that money." He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "That's the thing, kid. You don't get to keep what you can't protect." He moved toward the side of the table. Maya backed away just slightly, not enough to show fear, just enough to brace herself. "It's mine," she said, steadying her voice. "I earned it." The second biker laughed under his breath. The third rolled his shoulders, clearly hoping for a reason to step forward. "You earned it," the man mocked. "Yeah, okay. Just hand it over, and no one gets hurt this time." Maya looked him in the eye. "No," he scowled. "Don't be stupid, girl." His hand reached for the envelope, and that's when a voice cut through the thick evening air, calm but sharp as broken glass. "Touch that envelope again, and you'll leave here with more than a bruised ego." All three men turned. From the alley just across the street, Stallone stepped out of the shadows. He had never left. He'd waited, just in case. And now he walked slowly but deliberately across the street, hands loose at his sides, eyes locked on the man in front of Maya's stand. The leader stiffened, surprised but unwilling to show it. "You serious?" he muttered. "You still here?" Stallone didn't reply. He stopped just a few feet away and gave a nod toward Maya. "You all right?" She nodded, eyes wide, her hands still clenched at her sides. "I'm good," she said. "Thanks to you." The three men looked at each other, then back at Stallone. The third one, the biggest, stepped forward, his stance broad. "There's three of us, old man. You think you're going to play hero again?" Stallone shrugged. "Don't have to. I just have to stop you." The lead biker scoffed. "Let's see you try." And with that, he lunged fast and full of reckless fury. But Stallone was ready. He stepped to the side, grabbing the man's arm mid-motion and twisting it downward, sending him face first into the sidewalk. The second man charged, swinging wide, but Stallone ducked low, rose with a swift elbow into the man's ribs, and followed with a clean punch to the jaw that sent the man reeling. The third man hesitated, then rushed, fists up, but Stallone stepped forward with the quiet precision of a man who had been in hundreds of real and staged fights. He swept the man's leg out from under him and brought him down hard with a shoulder lock that left the biker groaning. Seconds passed, then silence. The three men, tangled and humiliated, pushed themselves up slowly, breathing hard. Pain etched across their faces. "You came for money," Stallone said, his voice even but firm. "But you left with a lesson." He stepped back and let them get up. "Don't come back here." The men didn't answer. They didn't argue. They dragged themselves back to their bikes, climbed on, and with roaring engines and bruised pride, they peeled off into the night. Maya stood frozen. Her body trembled with the aftershock, but her heart was beating strong. She hadn't run. She hadn't handed anything over. Stallone walked to her, bent down, and picked up a cup that had fallen in the scuffle. "Still got lemonade?" She managed a breathless laugh. "Just enough for one more." "Then let's have a drink. One last toast." She poured the final 2 cups. They clinked them together. "To standing your ground," he said. "And to keeping your word," she added. They drank slowly. The night settled around them. Somewhere in the distance, streetlights flickered on, one by one. He looked at her, more fatherly now than fierce. "You'll be all right," he said. "No matter what." "I believe that now," Maya whispered, "and one day I'll do the same, for someone else." He nodded, the same way he did in the movies, when words weren't needed. Then he turned once more, walking into the growing shadows of the evening, his figure dissolving into the soft glow of the streetlights. Maya watched until he was gone. Then she turned back to her stand, picked up her sign, and smiled. The lemonade was gone, but her future had just begun.